Hello, this is Tim from Vintage RC Garage, and today we're going to do an unboxing of the Tamiya Ford F150 Ranger XLT kit number 5827. The Ranger uses the SRB chassis line, nicknamed the Special Racing Buggy, but not officially by Tamiya. This chassis line is one of the most famous made by Tamiya. It was first released in 1979 and served on multiple Tamiya models, including the Rough Rider and the Sand Scorcher in 1979 and the Super Champ in 1982. The Ranger was released in October of 1981 and was no longer sold after 1984. It was the third of four vintage kits to use the SRB chassis line. There are additional kits that use this chassis but were sold as more economical kits. These were the Holiday Buggy and the Sand Rover in 1980. However, these versions removed some of the more advanced features of the chassis line, like the waterproof radio box. Tamiya produced 55 off-road buggies in the top 100, and the Ford Ranger was the 7th. One of the unique facts about the SRB kits was that they had an advantage at the racetrack when compared to others of the same time period because it was designed specifically for electric motors. This was a novelty at the time, and it was able to be optimized for lighter weight, unlike other cars that were still designed for heavier nitro models. As a side note here, this particular box was correctly packaged when shipped. The special care was taken to ensure that parts did not shift during travel. I wish that everyone shipped vintage packages in this manner, but that's a topic for another video. The tire blister pack contains the left and right metal gear case and two universal joints. It also contains four identically sized tires. One SRB variation on the Ranger is that it uses wide sandblaster tires in the front instead of the thinner front tire design used on most other SRB models. The F and R part trees contain parts for the four white tire rims. The Ranger used a three-part rim, which in addition to the inner and outer parts that got screwed together, it also included an inner tire insert. The rim offset was later adjusted to help alleviate a design flaw related to a short wheel well that caused the body to rub on the wheels. The metal blister pack contains a majority of the core kit components, including the RS540 motor, mechanical speed controller, and resistor. The pinion and drive gear include both on-road and off-road teeth configurations. The Ranger did not contain differentials. The metal pack also included left and right front axles, two rear arms, bushings, left and right uprights, two well nuts, four cam locks, left and right lower and upper arms, two pipe joints, and four front arm shafts. The unique front bumper is molded in a tan plastic with a metal crossbar. It was traditionally left unpainted and sits slightly lower and protruding from the chrome body bumper. The D parts tree contains the clear front windshield and the hard-to-find rear cab window. My Shelf Queen is still missing its rear cab window. The C parts tree includes the chrome front grille and bumper plus the chrome rear bumper. The D parts tree contains the body details such as the tailgate, driver body and head, sunroof, and the steering wheel. Finding an authentic sunroof for a restoration project is also extremely challenging. This part is often mistaken with the Blackfoot sunroof because it has the same dimensions. Next up is the chassis base. One of the unique features of the SRB chassis was that it attempted to be waterproof by using an enclosed radio box that housed the radio electronics and the speed controller. It was also the first Tamiya version to have torsion bar suspension along with oil-filled dampers. The antenna has an upside-down triangle at the tip as well as a spring design at the base that will allow it to flex easier without getting bent. The paperwork that is included in the box contains a full individual parts list in addition to the parts list at the back of the manual. The manual is a standard Tamiya version provided in English. Surprisingly, the manual contains no Japanese and has German as a secondary language. It uses monochrome print with occasional blue highlights throughout. The decals contain at least two versions to accommodate for the wheelbase design problem we'll talk about in a sec. The body shell was modeled after the real Ford Ranger body from the early 80s. The hard plastic body features a sunroof, flat bed liner, rear cab window, and windshield. The tailgate attaches to the truck bed with screws. As mentioned, there was one major design change on the chassis during the Ranger's history. The first version had an issue with the fender clearance on the body, which rubbed on the tires until it was widened in later versions. The fender opening was made wider, and also the tire offset was produced with less offset to help address the problem. This change also prompted the decals to be modified to accommodate the new fender size. The version that I am showing you is the later model because the decals have the wider over-the-wheel version. The rear assembly guard attaches to the metal roll cage using the pipe joints. The signature waterproof radio box comes in a yellowish translucent plastic. The radio box was probably the most signature characteristic of the SRB chassis. Inside the radio box are the plastic motor guards, which is taped shut for shipping. Inside the parts box is the metal roll bar that is used as the mount point for the body. Another of the SRB chassis variants on the Ranger is that a long front body post was used to attach a taller truck body to the chassis. Also inside the parts box is the tool bag. This bag contains the rod boots, which were used to surround the servo rods as they pass through the radio box. Also the front stay, Allen keys and wrench, rubber switch cover, heatsink, motor wires, and body mounts are inside the tool bag. The shaft bag not only contains the drive shaft, rear shafts, counter shaft, and final shaft, but also the axle mount stay and the front axle. The pinion bag is a small bag that contains the front post, 16 and 20 tooth pinion gears, antenna pin, counter gear, and final gear. The shock absorber oil bag is the least interesting part of the unboxing, but provides the ever important silicone sealant, damper oil, thread lock, and grease. The shock absorber bag contained most of the shock assembly, which included the front and rear shock cylinders, front and rear pistons, shock tops, oil cap, piston guide, piston end, and O-rings. The Ranger used two different types of suspension. The front used a double trailing arm wishbone with a spring clip, while the rear suspension uses a swing axle with torsion bars. The metal chassis underplate is used to stiffen and protect the chassis. In the torsion arm bag, you get the tie rods, compression spring for the steering servo saver, tension bar, steering rod, left and right front spring, and body clips. The ball race parts tree are used for mobility in the ends of the upright arm swivel. The E parts tree is used for the steering servo saver. Last up are the screw bags. The A screw bag contains 4mm by 11mm screws, 4mm lock nuts and washers, and 5mm grub screws. I wish I had some of these 5mm grub screws for my TXD1 project. The C screw bag contains 3mm machine screws in 6mm and 20mm lengths, and 3mm lock nuts, washers, and grub screws. The D screw bag includes 2mm screws in 6mm and 8mm lengths, and 2mm nut washers. And lastly, the B screw bag contains all Allen head screws, 3mm width, and 6, 8, and 18mm lengths. Thanks for watching my unboxing of the Tamiya Ford F150 Ranger XLT. See you next time.